Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Stardust show, powered by Radio Works World. I have the privilege to introduce you a very dear friend of mine who lives in Ireland, and she's joining us today to grace us with her mastermind. Her mind is so powerful and it's contagious. Welcome, Danielle Serpico.
Thank you, Marina. It's as usual, talking to you is always more than a pleasure. I'm very happy to be here.
So we met years ago. It's almost like in a different life.
Yeah,
And it was back in 2013. We connected online and we are back here online, live, on air.
yeah.
And you were telling me how many talents you have and how many strengths you have. And it was so confusing even for you because you knew too much, you been given so many gifts, and yet it was very difficult to pick one. So I said to you, Danielle, you have to pick one horse and ride it. So you did. And I remember it was very late night in the evening, very late in the evening that night when eventually we decided that it is your mind that is the most fabulous asset you have. And everything else is history, of course. You took a big leap of faith to think that, yes, you can paint. Your paintings are amazing. Yes, you can cook. Your cooking is fabulous. Yes, you can run a business. You can strategize. You can do so many other things. You could even win. Actually, you won the European championship
Mhm.
in a sport that is very unusual for a young lady, and yet you weren't sure what to do next with yourself because you had so much going on, and of course there were other things going on which weren't really working the way they supposed to, but that did not stop you. That did not make you less. That made you more and more and more. And look at you today. I'm so mesmerized by everything you do and the journey you took and how you managed to not only overcome challenges, but how you made everything that was working against you to work for you. But perhaps you are the best person to share your story with us. Tell us more.
Well, I love that you said a young woman. I love that bit. That's my favorite bit. But
But you know about that. When we met, I was 51 years old, and now I'm 56 years young.
absolutely, you get younger. Every time I see you, you get younger. It's very
But
true.
this, but this is a lot to do with you and what I learned from you. So don't put it all on me. So tell us, tell us more about the power of your mind.
Okay, about the power of your mind. Well, I mean, you've kind of touched on how we met, obviously. And I remember when I first met you, I was just blown away by your passion and your kindness, and your enthusiasm. You know, the passion just exuded from you, and I really do believe that's what keeps us young. Okay, when we have a purpose and we have a passion. And I wanted to be around you, and I wanted to be affected and influenced by that excitement and lust for life that you had. And I was in a low place because I was just coming out of a lot of, as you said, adversity and a lot of problems, you know, both from a personal perspective and also from a financial perspective. So I was in a bad place, and to suddenly be met by this this aura and this energy was, wow, there really is something going on here. And yes, I remember talking to you, and we came up with the idea, with your help, of incorporating some of my talents And yes, being a black belt and European gold champion was something that I truly, and is something that I truly still value. And I'm very proud of myself, but it also taught me so much about life. You know, my journey to black belt and my journey still in martial arts still teaches me a lot. And when we came up with the idea of the Blackbelt Mastermind, it just fitted perfectly into what I was doing, and the way my mind was developing with what I had learnt and experienced through that learning in my own personal transformation and how it was affecting people around me. So yes, so that was the kind of the birth of the Black Belt Mastermind book, and the start of something, you know, really big. Because one of my favorite quotes, and I have it in my book, The Black Belt Mastermind, is a black belt is simply a white belt who never gave up. And it's so true, because why give up in life? You know, there's so much you learn, there's so much, is always going to be something better around the corner if you continue. But also, it also taught me that at every stage in life, and even when I became a black belt, I really was just a white belt again. And I had to start learning all over again. And just like in martial arts and also in life, exactly the same. You're starting on another journey all the way. You know, and you said that to me before. You said before, the book is just the beginning. And it was so true, because it was the beginning and the start of a whole new lease of life for me, and a rebirth as such, you know, with my career, with my personal life, with my home, and most of all with my mindset.
I think what I notice with most people who are writing books, they make the book writing such a distant goal that they miss the point. The journey they start is just the beginning of this trip into serendipity. And it's almost like your book is your birth certificate of your vision. And you turn that book into a reality. And the way you turn it, not only for yourself, but for thousands and thousands of people you are helping and inspiring. There are so many people you never even realize how many people read your book. And I carried your book while I was around the world for 1,000 days, and I showed it to everyone. I just felt the need to give them access to this big gates into amazingness, because it is like taking somebody into an adventure of the mind. When you read your book, is it's almost like something hits you. It's like music. When music hits you, doesn't hurt, but does something else, makes you aware of how wonderful your mind is. And I always thought that each time somebody wants to understand that writing a book is not about the book, it's about helping others. I always mentioned you. And I remember that the word master and mastermind was at the beginning of my journey as well, because I never heard that word before. So I didn't ever considered it's possible to have a meeting of the minds like we did. I never thought it's possible that people create a bond for life or beyond life, because you made the connection with eternity when you publish your book. So it's almost like this lifetime here, it is our chance to make the best of it. And it's not about, even if it is your story you are sharing, it is really not about you. It's about the people we can help together. So I had to make that remark about your book being your birth certificate and not a purpose on its own.
Yeah, and it's very true, because when I wrote the Black Belt Mastermind, it wasn't necessarily about me being the Black Belt Mastermind. You know, it was also about you know, the listener, the reader, being the Black Belt Mastermind, how to become the black belt master of your own mind. And like what you said, again, I'll relate it to anything that you do, whether you become a black belt or any position of authority or responsibility. You know, I remember even when I was in a lower grade, moving up the ranks in martial arts, you felt a responsibility to the ranks, say, lower than you, per se, it's only a belt, but you felt a responsibility if you were more advanced or if you had been there longer to look after new people coming through the door. And that teaches you a lot for life. And it's the same in any role that you play, in any role as a carer, as a teacher, as a leader, as a coach. It's the exact same thing. When I wrote the book, like what you said, it's your rebirth. It made me realize that, okay, now I have to really step up here because I've written the book and this is what I'm putting out there. So I've got to live this life every day. And I have to follow through with it. So when I go to coach people, it's not necessarily just about me being the black belt mastermind. It's about making sure that I can help you become the black belt that you really want to be and that you really are inside. So that message was very powerful and a great lesson that you taught me, Marina, when you said your book is just the beginning.
Yes,
so thank you
for the beginning, because at the time it was a lot of confusion in your life, and you could have chosen to stay confused. You could have chosen to think, why do I need an extra talent, an extra achievement when everything is crashing down on me? And yet you stood up, you walked into your own light, and with that you brought so much light on other people's dark sky. Perhaps you did not realize at the time, but this is exactly what you did. Yeah. And it's almost like the light I'm talking about was coming from within, and you could not see that without seeing in others how amazing they are. So I think amongst other gifts, you have this ability, which is perhaps natural, you just master it, to bring clarity in the most difficult times, in the most difficult moments, just to focus on what is important right now and what needs to be done right now to go to the next level, to the next layer of complexity. So how do you do that? How do you bring clarity into a foggy, difficult set of circumstances?
Great question. It's a question that of interference there in the background. Oh, it's gone now. It's gone now. It's a question that comes up a lot, and comes up a lot with clients that I'd be coaching and people that I talk to. And obviously at one point in my life, I felt very foggy and very unclear as to what to do next. What I learned was, I was always a survivor, I suppose deep down, and a fighter. But what I learned was, when I started delving into the psychology of the mindset, was that we really have to train our mental muscles exactly the same way as we train our physical muscles. And it's really as simple as that. And if we don't do that, we become lazy, we become sluggish, and our mental muscle will become, limp and loose, and it won't know what to do. It won't know how to move forward. So when somebody comes to me, because a lot of people ask, say they want happiness, and they say they want success, or they say they want to feel better. But when you actually ask them, okay, what does that mean to you? And what would happiness be? They don't actually have a clue. They're confused. They're lost. They say, well, I actually don't know what would make me happy. I have no idea. So the best advice I could give, and I've done it myself, and I've also recommended to others who I've seen using it to great results, is to do, and I say it all the time, I was giving a talk last night and I said the same thing, is to do something, anything, is to try different things out, is to open yourself up mind-wise and experience-wise, to as many different experiences and opportunities as you possibly can, to go out there into the world and explore and see if you like something. And if you're feeling down, because sometimes people say, oh, I don't know if anything would make me happy, you know, maybe happiness is too big a word. Maybe happiness is daunting at the start when you're in a very low place, because I can relate to that. So maybe just do something that makes you feel a little bit better than you do right now. Anything. Take tiny little steps, even if it's simple as you feel really bad, get up and drink a glass of water. Change your physical and your mental state. So, and then move forward from that. So it's like a domino effect. I call it pretty much a domino effect. If you want to change your state, and which will then, of course, change your life, because your emotional state will in turn affect what you do, and what you do will, of course, affect your results. It's very simple. I mean, we hear it all the time, but sometimes we don't actually take action on it. So again, I'll use an example in martial arts. We've all heard about fight or flight. So in life, if we're under duress, if we're under attack, okay, we will be in a position where if we don't react very quickly, our body will flood with adrenaline. And if we don't react very fast and use that adrenaline to move, to take action, we will then be paralyzed with fear and we will stay stuck. So that's how fight or flight pretty much simply in simple terms work. It's the exact same with your mind. If you do nothing every day, you're actually doing something. You're doing nothing. Okay, and you're training your mind to get used to staying in that little bubble. So when people say they're unclear as to what to do next, I would suggest they open themselves up to lots of opportunities and go out and explore, try it, have a go at it, see if you like it, see how you feel, rate it from 1 to 10, give it a score, and then do something else and see which one you like more. And eventually you'll find something that you like. And you'll touch on something, because I think one of the biggest things is we tend to stay in our comfort zone. We tend to stay in that little bubble surrounded in our comfort zone, and we don't stretch it. So one of the things that I always say to people that I work with and people that I coach, whether it's one-to-one or in a group, is every day I set them a challenge, including myself. Every day I set myself a challenge to do 3 things. Okay, 1, and I suggest that you do the same. Okay, not you, Marina, because I know you do this all the time. Okay, just naturally. I would suggest if you want to change your life, all you have to do is these 3 things. 1, do something every day outside your comfort zone. Okay, stretch it a tiny little bit. So your comfort zone is becoming bigger and bigger every day. 2, do something from something that you've learned that day. So if you read an interesting positive quote, something that means something to you, act on it. For example, we've all heard the quote, you get more of what you focus on. But have you actually ever stopped and asked yourself over and over again, how can I actually use that practically in the real world? How can I actually take action on that sentence and make it beneficial in my life? That's what I did. When I was at a low point, I was very practical. And I kept on saying, these things have to save my life. So I have to actually not just listen to them intellectually, I actually have to use this experientially. There's a big difference. Big difference between understanding something intellectually and using it experientially. So I decided to act on the quotes and the stuff that I learned, and every day use them in some particular way. So when you learn something every day, and I would suggest that every day you read a paragraph of a book or look up something, an interesting quote or poem on Google, or do something to learn something new. Okay, you're reading the paper, act on it. Act on something that you've learned. And 3, I always do it on my NLP course. So I always make people every day, for example, go out from what they've learned and do it. Use it straight away without allowing fight or flight to take place. And 3, do something good for others. You know, do something kind every single day. And they would be my 3 top tips, because when you do something kind for somebody else, even if it's simple as, you know, I mean, a genuine kind thing, even if it's as simple as, looking at somebody and seeing the beauty in them, and looking at Marina and saying, you've got the most incredible eyes. You mean it. You say it and you actually mean it. And you know that it's true. And that shows, that comes through you, and the person feels that. Now, when you've done that, it's done twofold. It is a little bit selfish because you also get to feel good. And I learned that when I felt bad, when I was in a really low place and I was suicidal and I wanted to end it all, I learned that the moment I took the focus off me and focused on you, it was impossible for me to feel bad. I couldn't do it because we can't focus on two things simultaneously. So if you're in a bad place right now and you feel bad, focus on the person that you love. Focus on a complete stranger and think about how you can help that person. And can you do one tiny little thing right now to make that person feel a little bit better? And I guarantee you, not only are you going to be helping that person, but you're also going to be helping yourself. So I can't remember what your question was, Marina, but I hope that was useful for our listeners.
Yeah, so it was with regard clarity, how you get. I remember we were having a beautiful afternoon where I was driving you back to Heathrow. With regret, I must say, I had to drive you back.
It was lovely. In your beautiful open top car. I enjoyed it immensely. Yeah.
We had plenty of time. So we went to Windsor and we had a coffee, and then we planned to help people understand the power of words. Remember?
Yes, yes.
I always loved words, and I always thought that even if you are left with nothing, there are moments when everything is gone. And all you have is everything you have. But that everything could change the world. Because humans got this ability to change the words they are using in their own mind. So yes, it's very hard, if not impossible, to change your circumstances. However, you could change your words. Tell us more about the power of words, Danielle.
Okay, well, the power of words is extremely powerful. And you see, we're all a little bit crazy. Some of us more so than others. But we all talk to ourselves all the time. All the time. And sometimes we don't even realize it, that we're talking to ourselves. And most of the time, we're not even aware of it consciously. And I remember the first time that I became really consciously aware that I had this internal voice, and this voice was talking to me, but it was talking to me in a very negative way. So with everything that I'd learned and with all my studies, I decided to change that, and it's a great little example, because I'll explain a little exercise and how you can do that in a moment. But if we imagine, I don't know if you've ever seen the cartoon Inside Out. Okay, it's a great cartoon about the little people in your head. And when you have a feeling or a thought, the little people in your head will pull this lever and give you the corresponding emotion. And it's a great analogy. It's a great story. But we have something in our brain called neuroplasticity, which means that our neural pathways are constantly evolving and changing and building and growing and changing direction. Now, when we have a thought, what happens is when we think something and say something inside our head, this neural pathway shoots across our brain. Okay, and there's like an electric current, like a little energy current shoots across your brain. Now, if you have that thought more than once, and if you have that thought a lot of the time, that neural pathway will become stronger, okay, and bigger and thicker and more vibrant, okay? And the more that you have that thought, the bigger that neural pathway will grow. And what that does is gives you the corresponding amount of emotion attached. So whether you're saying something good or bad, so if you're saying, I'm not good enough, I could never do that, and you say that kind of sentence a lot of the time, that neural pathway is going to be strong, and it's going to give you strong emotion to go with that. So if it's something bad, you will get bad emotion. If it's something good, like, yeah, I can do that, yeah, I'm fantastic, I'm incredible, then you will get the corresponding emotion attached to that. It's very simple. Now, what was really interesting was when they did lots of experiments on this and they stuck, an MRI machine to your head and they could see what was going on, is they asked the person, after they spoke the words internally, they asked the person to speak the words out loud. And what happened when they did that was that neural pathway all of a sudden grew around 3 times as strong. And hence the corresponding emotion grew 3 times as strong. So, for example, we've all had the experience where we're upset about something and we go and confide in our best friend, or we go and talk to our partner, and the moment we speak the words, we start to cry, right? Why is that? Because you spoke the words out loud. So your unconscious mind believed, oh, Danielle, Marina, whoever, really believes this so powerfully because she now not only thought it, but she actually repeated it out loud. So you're reinforcing that emotion, that feeling, and you get the corresponding feeling. So when I was in my low place and I started to read this and understand all this, again, I was practical and I said, let's put it into action. So I trained my mind to use words more productively, more beneficially for me. I understood that the more I said a negative sentence, the more I was going to feel bad. So I changed my words. So for example, the word try, get rid of it, unless you're a hypnotist. In which case you can use it to your advantage, okay? And that's a little hint. I could teach you more about that. But if you're using the word try, for example, I will, sure, will you meet me tomorrow? Sure, I'll do my best, I'll try. You're not going to do it, because try implies failure to your unconscious mind. It's very simple. So your unconscious mind is very literal and takes your word literally. So if you say, I will try and do something, it actually believes that you're saying you will try, you won't do. So a better way of saying it, yes, I will do it, or I want to do it. Now, want is a more empowering word, which will make you take action more. Okay? The word must or need or should are very unhelpful words because they make you feel like, like when you were a kid, you had to do your homework. And what would happen when your mum would say, you really should go and do your homework now? You wanted to rebel. The last thing that you would want to do is go and do your homework. So the word should, must, be careful how you use those, because they're not going to motivate you to take action. In fact, you're going to sabotage yourself and you will actually stop. So replace try, must, should for words like I will, I want to, okay, which are much more empowering. There's so many examples of how we use our words. An interesting way of using words which relates to you get more of what you focus on is the fact that our unconscious mind, which I know Marina knows this, she's heard me saying this many times and she knows this anyhow, is that our unconscious mind is 93% of your mind. Your conscious mind is only 7%. So which part do you really think controls you? We think we're so in control with our conscious mind, but it's our unconscious mind. Now, what's really interesting about that is your unconscious mind cannot process a negative. So when you use a sentence such as, I don't want to think about, I will not think about giving up smoking or smoking. I will not think about chocolate. I will not think about my ex anymore. I will not think about the problems I had or have. What's going to happen? You're going to think about them more because you get more what you focus on, because your unconscious mind has to, it's the example, think about a pink, don't think about a pink elephant. You got to think about a pink elephant first to not think about it. Because what happens is there's a part in your brain called your monitor. Now your monitor in your brain is back here in your reptilian brain and is based on primeval times where it was helping you to watch out for danger. So it would be looking out for threats and danger such as the saber-toothed tiger and all of that. So what would happen is you would come out of your cave and you would say, I've got to stay away from that, cranky old saber-toothed tiger today. So your monitor in your brain would be conscious, would be looking all the time out for danger. So now we don't have those threats, but we have everyday threats that kill us more slowly, like smoking, like overeating, like drinking, like maybe even our ex sometimes, these kind of problems, which our primal brain will see us as the same way as such a big threat for us, as a danger. So our problems nowadays are our serious threats. So what happens is, I get clients all the time. They come to me and they say, you get a girl and she comes to me and she says, oh, I don't know what else to do. I've tried everything. Tried. I say, okay, you've tried, have you? And she goes, yeah, I've tried. And I say, okay, how's that working for you? And she goes, well, not too well. That's why I'm here. And I say, okay, what did you do? And she goes, well, I've heard about all this stuff and I understand it. And I wake up every morning and I say to myself, I'm not going to think about my ex. I say, okay, and how's it going? She goes, not going well at all. That's why I'm here. I need your help, Danielle. And I say, okay, great. There's another one comes along and says, I want to give up smoking. What have you been doing? Waking up every morning and saying, I'm not going to think about smoking. Okay. And another one comes along and says, okay, I get up every day and I'm determined. I say, today I'm not going to eat chocolate. What is the pattern? What is the common factor? They're all saying they're not going to think about it. So your monitor, which is there watching out for you, okay, will then go, okay, we're going to the shops. We got to stay away from the chocolate. We got to stay away from the biscuits in the goodie aisle. So you walk into your local shopping centre. You're there with your trolley and your monitor is going, okay, where's the chocolate? Where's the chocolate? We got to stay away from the chocolate. We got to stay away from the biscuits, right? Okay. So you're thinking the whole time, chocolate, biscuits, chocolate, biscuits. Where do you end up? In the biscuit aisle, of course. Okay. So that is probably one of the most fundamental ways in which I have learned how to change my mind, because again, I read those quotes and I read all the books, and all the books all appeared to say pretty much the same messages, just in a slightly different way. And I wanted to put it to use. So I realized that when I said, I'm not going to think about something, all it did was attract that more. So I changed my words. So instead of thinking about your problem, start focusing on your solution. Focus in a different direction. And I mean literally, because this is something I talk about a lot, about the direction in which your eyes go, which is linked to your brain. And obviously in NLP and stuff like this that you learn psychology, you understand when you watch somebody. I mean, I could watch Marina and I know very clearly where she's going with her eyes. And Marina is very focused on solutions and very focused on moving forward. She doesn't live in the past. And it's very, very evident from just watching her for a moment and looking at her eyes. Okay. It's about literally changing your direction and focusing in a better direction and focusing on your future, focusing on the solutions and looking at what you do want rather than what you don't want. So regarding words, get rid of the negative words. Change them. Instead of saying, I don't want this, say what you do want. Instead of saying, I want to. And another thing is negative sentences, like, for example, I want to lose weight. It's not very empowering. How about saying, I would like to get healthy. I want to have more energy. I want to feel better about myself. I want to feel sexy. I want to feel good. I want to feel energetic. So those words are much more empowering and much more motivating. So your words and how you use them will have a dramatic impact in your life. And the way I would suggest to do that is a little bit like I said at the start, how do you eat an elephant? And you take it chunk by chunk. You start with small little steps. You focus on one thing first. You say, okay, I'm just going to, from now on, spend this week cancelling out the word try from my vocabulary. Becoming aware that every time I use the word try, I'm just going to go, oh, great, I used it and I'm aware of it. Okay, I will applaud myself. Well done for spotting that. And now I will change it to something more productive. And then the next week, maybe change it to the word add on. Once you've created that habit, add on another word, like the word because. I mean, because if you want to influence somebody is incredibly powerful. It's very simple. It's related to our childhood and how you're looking for an ice cream and you ask your mum over and over again, can I have an ice cream? And she keeps saying no. And eventually she gets annoyed and you say, why? And she says, just because. You stop. Okay, the word because immediately creates authority, and we stop and we listen. So even if the sentence afterwards isn't so powerful, we will still take heed. So there's a lot of language that you can use that is very, very influential and persuasive. And that's some of the stuff that we will probably talk about at the Radio Works event in London as well. So does that give you food for thought, Marina?
Yes, wonderful. So I remember most of the time my clients will ask, so you are saying you have a lot of confidence in me? I said, yes, I do. And then they think, they go quiet, and then they start asking, of course, how I'm going to deliver what you want me to deliver. and then of course I'm telling them to start with, let's go back into the word how, and agree that we never, absolutely never use the word how. We are going to trade the word how for the word wow. Let's see what happens. So they were saying originally, how am I going to do this? And now we are saying, wow, I'm doing this. So that's the kind of exercise that each one of us have the ability to practice each day. You know, when you wake up in the morning and if you are in London, perhaps it's raining, you are not going to say to yourself, usually, I love rain. You are going to say, how I'm going to go to work, it's raining. But you're saying, wow, I'm going to the rain, thinking about the people who never seen rain in their entire life. I remember being in a desert, and people were asking me, so how is the rain like? How that feels?
The grass is always greener, isn't it?
Yes. So coming back to the power of words, I know most of our listeners are entrepreneurs, and they have a big dream. And we are helping them not to give up on their dream, to turn it into a vision and turn that vision into their own reality. And most of the time, their biggest challenge is not the lack of funds, is not the lack of imagination, it's not the lack of support, but is the power of the word they are using. So I know you've been working with so many people, and it's almost like the holy grail of your success, of having the life you deserve, are the words. Knowing how to use the words, to make them your best friends, to make them to work for you instead of you working on fixing the damages you've done by using the wrong words. Yes. So when they think of their dream or their vision, and they think, how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to earn enough to cover the overheads, how I'm going to sell my product. Of course, now I know the answer, and I do that myself. It's not about selling anything to anyone. It's about selling your dream to yourself first.
Yes.
Because when you invest in yourself, when you educate yourself, when you get to learn the one science and perhaps art at the same time of being you, there is no stopping. So you had the chance while writing your book. I know you put a lot of love and passion into writing that book, which is beautiful. And what was your top challenge while writing the book? Because you are in the middle of everything. You're in the midst of everything. You're like in the middle of the motorway, and everybody was driving with 200 miles an hour around you.
Okay, great question. Okay, what was my biggest challenge?
Challenge for you while writing the book?
Okay. I think there was very little challenge actually in the end, but I suppose the biggest challenge in writing the book, and I would say for most people, is getting started, is actually deciding, making the decision and taking action. Now, the way I wrote my book is an actual complete testimony to how this stuff works and the power of how this stuff works. And it's an actual fantastic example, because I completely followed the steps of what I'd learned mindset-wise to make that book happen. Now, of course, it wouldn't have happened without your help and your inspiration and your passion and all the rest, of course. I also did some stuff internally. So I think the biggest hurdle for anybody writing a book, and for me at the time as well, was really believing that I was somebody worthy of writing a book and worthy of somebody reading my book and actually having something of value to give back. So it's getting started is the scariest part, because you're kind of thinking, you know, okay, you have this big overwhelming thoughts in your head and you're thinking, one, will people like it? You know, will people think I'm stupid? Will people think X, Y, and Z? And also, will I ever actually be able to write it? Will I actually get it finished? So I put into practice what I'd learned. I did a couple of things. Number one rule, I visualized the end result first. Okay, so you all often talk about starting with the end in mind, and it's so true when it comes to mindset and the psychology of how your brain works. Okay, because a very important part as well is that your unconscious mind does not know the difference between what's real or imagined. We've said it many times. So your unconscious mind does not know the difference. Now, how can I prove that? Everybody has had a dream, and everybody has had a dream where they have felt emotion. Happy, sad, you know, excited, frightened, whatever it was they felt. Now, if your unconscious mind knew the difference, you would have not felt emotion, because you would have known it was a dream. It's because when you come back into consciousness and wake up, you go, oh, I'm not afraid any longer, thank God, because it was just a dream. Now, again, putting that into action, not just understanding it intellectually, but putting it into action. I understood that, I'd learned that our unconscious mind doesn't know the difference. So I understood that if I visualized and imagined me writing that book and having that book written and having that book finished and maybe signing autographs or seeing it in the shops and the shelves or seeing it on Amazon and all this type of stuff, and the feeling that that would give me, I knew that once I'd done that, I had done something really huge psychologically. Because what happens is we all have something, a psychological bias, that's called loss bias, L-O-S-S, loss bias. Now what happens here is, I'll give you an example of loss bias. Let's say right now somebody had won the Euro Millions. Right now, somebody was winning the Euro Millions and they won 17 million. Now, just thinking yourself in your own head on a scale 1 to 10, 1 not caring, 10 being really upset about it, how bad do you feel? Most likely, most people would be a low score. They're not really that bothered, okay? But let's rewind and let's say you had bought a lotto ticket and your winning numbers came up. So you found out that you had won the Euro Millions and you'd won 70 million. Okay, but you go to look in your bag and you find you've lost your ticket. Now, on a scale 1 to 10, 1 not caring, 10 being very upset, how do you feel? Most people generally say it's higher. They feel pretty bad this time round, okay? Why? Because we believed this time that the money was ours. We believed this time we had the money, but we lost it. Once we lose something, we want it back with a vengeance. We want it back with so much more passion and motivation. So that's why somebody that, for example, goes bankrupt, like myself, like many other people out there, very soon afterwards, they've recreated their life and recreated that money and that financial situation and that lifestyle that they were used to. Because not only is it easier to do it again, right, if you've done something once, okay, it's also you're more motivated, because loss bias you can use to your advantage. It kicks in, and you have this motivation and this drive to go back and lead that life. And it's just like putting something into motion that you don't even have to encourage. It's just there. Like, a lot of people say to me, where do I get my energy from? It's because I've done it in here first. I mean, we all know it. Everything happens twice. Everything. Every single thing has to happen in here first. If you want something to manifest in the outside world, you got to do it first in here. So the very first thing that I did was I visualized. And the trick to visualizing is to do it so that you get goose pimples. Is to do it so well that you get, you know, your hair on your arms stand on end. To do it so well that you're excited and you literally want to jump up and down. Okay, and the more you practice that, imagine yourself like a child. Use your imagination. Literally say, you know what? I have just talked to yourself. Say, you know what? I've just written a best-selling book. I am absolutely friggin' awesome. Okay, and I am going now to my book signing. And you know what? I'm going now to watch the blockbuster, the movie of my book. Okay, now how good does that feel? When you've done that and you've really felt the emotion attached to it, now you've tricked your unconscious mind. And when your unconscious mind has been tricked, it wants it back and it puts everything into motion. So you will then have momentum and motivation to go after your dreams like you've never felt before. So the very first thing I did before I wrote my book was I did that. The second thing I did was, which maybe I shouldn't tell people, but it was very good. I went onto Fiverr.com and I got a book cover designed. Okay, and I put it on Facebook and I said, here guys is my upcoming book. And I got loads of likes, hundreds of comments. Oh my God, you've written a book. And I hadn't written a single word. So what happened? One, very simply, I was holding myself accountable. Okay, I put it out there, now I had to take action. But I knew psychologically that it was more than that. It wasn't as simple as just I'm holding myself accountable. I could also see it. I could see the book cover with my name on it, and that motivated me. That caused my mind again to be tricked into believing it's already happened. It's out there. It's out there in the universe. There it is. I can see it on Facebook. Everybody's already congratulating me for my book. So going to the next level of going to write the book at that stage was just matter of course. And if you ask any successful person, and I know you, Marina, you obviously have your radio show and I do 2 radio shows. And at this stage, I've interviewed an awful lot of people. And everybody I ask, I always ask this question. And they all give me the same answer. They all say, whether they know that they've done it or not, they have all visualized the end result first. And they all knew somehow instinctively that they were going to get wherever they wanted to get. So you look and talk to any successful person. They were very clear, very early on that that was just a matter of course. It wasn't if they were going to get somewhere, it was when they were going to get somewhere. It was just a matter of time. So when I seen my book cover on Facebook, I knew that was it. It was done. For me, it was done and dusted. Okay. I had also put it on my as my password on my computer. I had put the date, okay, on the password on my computer. So it's a great, what we call in psychological terms, we would call that an anchor, a trigger. Okay. It was an unconscious reminder, a little bit like the vision board or something like that. It was there in the background that, you know, I had the date written, and every time I had to key in my password to the computer, I would key in that date. And I kind of forgot that that date was the date I was going to have my book out. But what date do you think I had it on Amazon? It was that date. So there's a lot of different psychological tools and biases that you can use to your advantage to make something happen and give yourself the momentum and the drive. So once you've made the decision, it's like anything. The hardest part of me writing my book was making the decision and saying, that's it, I'm going for it. But once that had happened and once I visualized it, it was done. So the writing...
For our listeners, Danielle, because I never start anything with the start. I always start with the end.
Actually, another thing I didn't mention there is Another reason why starting at the end is much more useful is because if you start off and you want to write a book, and you start off with a nice, you buy yourself a nice notebook and you sit down, or you're sitting at a computer at your Word document and it's a blank page. Now you've got all of that stuff to write and it's daunting. It's a little bit scary. But if you do something which we would call in psychological terms a little bit like timeline therapy, where you actually walk and step into your future, into the goal that you've achieved. Now, when you're there and you turn around and look back in your mind's eye and look back on the steps. So say, for example, you say, I'm going to write a book and in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, my book is going to be out there. Imagine literally walking forward in time and arriving at the point where you wrote your book. Now turn around in your mind's eye and look backwards and walk backwards to a month before that and say to yourself, what would I have done at this stage? And walk back a little bit further and say, what would I have done at that stage? And walk back, a little bit further and say, what would I have achieved at that stage, by that stage then? So until you're like, a week from the present moment, and you're saying, okay, a week on, what would I have done? Maybe I'd written some notes and maybe I'd done a bit of research. And you walk back on all the stages. So now when you look forward again, you have a bump, 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 bump. You have a kind of a plan in place and it's not as overwhelming. Okay, you don't feel the same sense of overwhelm if you just stare at a blank page, okay, and go forward. So planning backwards is a great tool to get rid of fear and overwhelm. Because again, you've tricked your unconscious mind into believing that you've already done it. So it's easier to do it again, just like riding a bike. Okay, so yes, you always start with the end in mind. Yes.
But coming back to this exercise, because it seems that worked with the book, seems that worked with the events we've been imagining in our mind. And now I have my clients telling me, Marina, you always say everything happens twice, first in your mind and then in your reality. But actually, we are saying now everything happens twice, first in your mind and then first at Radio Works World and then in reality. So in a way, Radio Works World becomes the mind of the dreamers and the people who dare to dream. But I think for me, if something works, regardless how big is the step, regardless how big is the dream, actually the bigger the dream, the better, because more people will be able to step in and make it happen. So please tell us from your own perspective, is this end in mind working on small things or is working on big things as well?
Oh, absolutely. You can, absolutely. The bigger, as you say, the better. I mean, I have major dreams and big plans. So absolutely, dream big, completely. And it works it works phenomenally for big dreams because, again, you get more of what you focus on. So if you, I spoke about the monitor before in your brain. We have another thing in our brain called, another part of our brain that uses a tool called priming. So priming means that we surround ourselves by things, whether they're images, sounds, words, reminders, that will prime our brain, that will influence our brain all the time unconsciously to go after what we want. Presumably, we're going to put stuff that's beneficial for us around, okay? So an example of that is, for example, if I was playing a little game with you and I said these words, and I said the word petrol, and I said the word car, and I said the word distance, and I said the word road, and then I said, I want you to tell me the first word that comes to mind that starts with the letter F. Okay, it's 4 letters long. The first letter is F and the last word is L. What word would come to mind? Okay, so we're putting Marina on the spot here. But most of the time, and generally, people will come up first with the word fuel because I've primed their mind. I've said carb, petrol, distance, all the rest, and they will guess the word fuel. Now that's a very simple example of how we prime our brains. So we can use that again to our advantage if we think practically. If we surround ourselves in our home, if we do a vision board, and we have, our examples of our dream home, examples of our dream life around us. If we have wonderful music playing, if we have listen to inspirational, podcasts, if we go to Radio Works, if we surround ourselves by positive, like-minded people that are on this journey, and we do all that more and more and more and more often, you're priming your brain to go after what you want. So absolutely, working backwards and going with the end in mind and visualizing is the most powerful tool that every single successful person uses, whatever success means to you. So, and it's just simply a fact that is very often overlooked. I mean, NLP is also studied, for example, is also used as is often said that it is the study of successful people, or it's basically modeling successful people. So I'm reading the quotes there. What Cheryl is saying. I know. It's very funny.
Because what you are saying is so fascinating. I for hours. I need water. I won't move. I'm really sorry. I have to apologize. We have to have to salute our friend, and I can see here.
There's comments coming in.
Dr. Terry Chapman is here. I will try to bring her inside the lobby. I don't know if she's here.
Not our my ex, the ex. Don't be thinking about the ex. Instead, think about the new guy.
And I know we had Umar from Essex, and I know we have now somebody, perhaps you know them.
We have Connor. Hi, Connor, a phenomenal guy, wonderful man. So hi, Connor. And I think we had also Jerry on. Jerry is the most beautiful, talented lady. You would love Jerry, Marina. So she is a phenomenally talented lady. So Jerry and Connor, hi guys. If they're on right now, I'm not sure. I think they were commenting. But yes, absolutely. Always start with the end in mind. It's extremely important, and it's very, very simple. Once you do that and you do it, the more you do it and the more you visualize and get yourself excited and imagine your end result, you can do it for something big or you can do it for something small. If it's something big, then work backwards and break it down into little chunks backwards.
And it's also the question that, I'm relatively new to the personal development industry, because I had to learn is an industry, actually.
No, you're not new to it at all.
But I went through a lot of phases through my education. I'm still working on. It's an inside job. And I hear a lot of people saying the vision board, they're obsessed by the vision board. But they're waiting for the vision board to deliver their abundance. They're waiting for the universe to deliver their dream on their doorstep. And I believe in miracles, and I only know one thing about miracles, that the miracle I've been waiting for is me, myself. And unless I open the door to this miracle called myself, one knocks on my door, I'm going to be forever locked inside. Yes. So that syndrome, the locked in syndrome, I call it, when you can't really be forever chasing something. You really have to become what you are chasing. You have to become the opportunity you seek. So tell us more about translating the desire to be more into being more. That vision board, the vision board is not just an external element outside your mind and you just look at it and it's happening.
Yes.
The vision board is your vision and you have to bring it out. So tell us more.
Absolutely. So there's a great saying, when you want new results, when you require new results, it requires new thinking. Okay. So we've got to change our habits. And I spoke about this last night. Connor, who's on, was at my talk actually last night in Dublin. I gave a talk last night on this, and I touched on this subject. And what happens is it's something that I call the kind of 51% or overturning the scales balance. Okay. And a lot of the time people will do something like, for example, they'll read a book that's inspirational, or they'll hear, okay, a vision board is great. So they put up a vision board and then they do nothing else. They go back to all their old ways. So they put the vision board up thinking that that's going to sort out their life. And then they continue using, not productive, not beneficial language, not beneficial thinking, not beneficial actions, and they expect things to change. Now, I believe in miracles as well, but I believe in giving ourselves the best chance possible. Okay, and if you want to speed up the process, I believe you have to overturn the scales. So what I mean by that is, for example, a lot of coaches say, obviously we are the company we keep. We are the sum of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. Okay, if you've got negative people in your life, get rid of them. Okay, yes, to an extent, I agree. People that are not serving you, I agree to an extent. Sometimes, though, those people in your life that are negative, people that you truly love. Okay, so we might not want to get rid of them. Okay, we might love them and want to help them. Okay, and want to change them and help them. So it may not be as simple as that. That's very much something that's bandied around in the coaching world, which I don't really like sometimes how it's expressed. But what I do say is you have to balance the scales. So if you have certain things going on in your life, make sure that the 51% is positive. Make sure that 51% of the stuff that's happening in your life is beneficial. So like the vision board, a vision board on the wall isn't enough if you just have everything else in your life is a mess. If you have a vision board in a messy bedroom, isn't enough. I spoke about this last night. Your brain, your monitor, will see the messy bedroom and unconsciously think and say to you, to your unconscious mind, okay, Danielle doesn't think she's good enough because she's sleeping in a really messy bedroom. So Danielle doesn't value herself. That's what your unconscious mind will be saying. So Danielle doesn't value herself. Danielle doesn't respect herself. So it'll make you feel bad. So we'll give you emotion attached to that because it's simply a computer that follows the rules. So we will look at the environment and then give you the corresponding emotion that it thinks that you deserve. So if your surroundings, if you don't take pride in yourself, if you don't value yourself and care about yourself enough to tidy up your surroundings, to take care of your body, to love yourself, to invest in yourself, in all ways and shapes and forms, invest in your mindset, train your mind, like we said at the start, the same ways you would train your body for health, for a healthy mind. If you don't do that, nothing's going to change. So you have to make a conscious effort every day to balance the scales in your favor, because there's enough negative influence out there that's coming all the time at us with the news, with media, with all that type of stuff. So make sure that every day you're doing stuff that is putting it the other way around, that is rebalancing it, that you're listening to your inspiring podcast, that you're reading a wonderful book, that you're talking to Marina Nani, that you're learning about psychology, that you're learning about NLP and how to use your words more productively, that you're doing all this type of stuff every single day, a little bit every day, because it's a little tiny step every day. And my talk last night was on momentum. It's simply about that action speeding up like a train. You take a little step, it takes hard to get going, a little bit hard to get going, but then it builds up momentum. So if you take little steps every day, eventually you're going to end up in a whole new destination. So one thing on its own is not enough. I do agree that you can build on that. It's a good starting point. So maybe do a vision board this week, but maybe next week start looking at your vision board and imagining it then in your mind's eye. You want to make it so vivid that you don't actually have to look at the vision board anymore to see it. I can see my vision board. I know exactly where every single picture is on my vision board. I can tell you it right now and I'm not looking at it. I can tell you, I can see up here, I have all, my physical stuff. You know, then I have kind of my home, then I have my work life in the middle and my dreams. So I can see every single little picture that I stuck on that vision board in my mind's eye. And you want to make it so that when you see it really big. When you see it really big, that's going to give you really positive, really strong emotion. Because the smaller that you see an image in your mind's eye, the less emotion that you're going to have. The bigger that you make it, and your words will tell you. So when you're talking to somebody, you know, and you hear them saying, I have big dreams, whether they know it or not, they've told you. They have actually told you, because I read minds, okay? They've told you, I'll go. You know, if I hear Marina saying, and she goes, I've got big dreams, I'll know, okay, she sees that dream. She actually literally sees that dream huge. She sees it big, which means that I already know, very simply, that she's going to have a lot of emotion attached to that. Okay, so if you want to have good, positive, motivating, inspiring emotion, you want to have passion to go after your dreams, then make the mental image in your mind huge. Make the mental images so big that you can't help but, as I said, feel goose pimples and feel excited. Okay, and layer and layer and layer those different things so that you're taking action every day more and more towards your dreams. So yes, a vision board on its own, unfortunately, is not enough. It's a start, but it's not enough if that's all you're going to do. Okay, you've got to do a little bit more than that. Okay, you've got to layer and layer and build and build and build. Okay, so like a domino effect, it starts to move forward. So how's that for an answer, Marina, for you?
Wow. Wow. Keep ignoring our.
But there's comments coming in. Connor is putting something there. Staircase. Absolutely. It is a great quote, very similar to that, Connor, that says, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just have to simply see the staircase one step at a time. Pretty much what you just said.
Yeah.
What I would add to that is imagining seeing what's at the top of the staircase first. And
so I remember when I walked on fire. To start with, I have to mention that I have a very sensitive skin.
We did that together.
Even if I touch water, my skin could suffer. You know, very sensitive. So of course, the the possibility of walking on fire wasn't really something I thought is for me. But I want to do something. I promised myself I will do something totally outside my comfort zone, because comfort zone, as we know, is not comfortable at all and must be something outside that. Mm-hmm. So I went and I walked on fire, and the first time it was a long queue. So I went back to the queue and I walked again. Remember?
Yes.
We were together, because I thought that the charcoal wasn't hot enough. So the fact that I walked for 10 meters on red hot charcoals and my skin did not suffer, because all I was thinking was going at the end of that walk and be celebrated by the people who already done it.
Yeah. Did
not give me the chance to even connect physically, even I was physically there with the hot charcoals. So since then, I'm helping my clients not necessarily to walk on fire, but seems that way. And I always tell them the story of me walking on hot charcoals, and how at the end I had to do it again because I thought perhaps they weren't hot enough. And it's the same with each experience in life when you do something. And today, actually, Dr. Cherry Chapman was interviewing Bernie Allen. She lives in Northern Ireland. And she's an amazing story, like happening as we speak. And she was saying that actually it's not hard. What she does is not hard. But it is her passion, because when she enters a room, the light, got everything is switched on. Her energy, her vibration, her passion is there. Yeah. So she never feels that is difficult. She never feels the hot charcoals, because she's always thinking at the outcome.
Yes.
And because our listeners and viewers, most of them are entrepreneurs, heart-centered entrepreneurs, I want to clarify this, if you may, for them. You done it for me brilliantly, and I know that I'm not even selling anything. I am my own product, but I'm not selling anything to anyone. I'm just offering them the solution, which is transferable. So how in the mind of the heart-centered entrepreneur, it's always like, yes, I want to make the difference. I want to help the world. I want to help my clients. But when it comes to charging them, to putting a price on what I'm giving them, they get blocked. They could only talk about how they are going to help them. They cannot talk about the outcome. They cannot talk about what they are giving them. So tell us the difference between talking about in a process of making an offer. Tell us a little bit more about the outcome, offering the outcome or offering the technicality of your product.
I'm not sure if I fully understand the question. Are you asking for somebody who is having difficulty in maybe promoting or selling their product?
Yes, so there are a lot of people who got amazing ideas. They have a brilliant solution, and yet they don't get paid because they don't offer their solution, which is the product people will pay for. They will pay any money to end the struggles they have, to have a better life, to have a solution to their challenges. And yet people who discover the solution, people who are giving so much and they bring so much to the world, and they are amazing people, they find it very hard to offer their clients the solution they have, to show them what is possible when they use their solution. And they focus a lot more on the actual how, which doesn't give them the chance to help their clients to imagine what is available for them.
Okay. I think I understand what you're asking me, but so basically, it's a little bit like how I felt before I wrote my book. Like I was saying that I felt the fear of, being judged and wondering, was I good enough, and wondering would I be able to have, would I have anything of value for people to read and to take from it. And what I discovered was, yes, I did. I did have something of value, because there's always somebody that needs to hear your message. Always. And that's not an egotistical thing. That's a kind thing. That's not coming from a place of selfishness. That's coming from a place of kindness and giving. Okay. I believe it's a little bit like when I felt really depressed, which is a kind of controversial point, because when I was very down and very depressed, I believed I was just depressed. But what I realized was that my act of being depressed meant that I was self-focused. And being self-focused meant that I was only caring about myself. Okay. And, I understand we've all gone through that and we all have moments of that. But again, like I was saying earlier, when I realized that if I took the focus off me and focused on other people, I was going to help myself by default, but I was also going to help others. So I got out of my own way. So I didn't I stopped looking at simply myself and what was in it for me, or what was the result of how I was going to feel, or the result of what people would be saying or thinking about me. When I stopped worrying about people judging me and started focusing more on what I could actually give, that's when things started falling into place. And that's when people started coming back. And even with my lovely little simple book or whatever, or coming to me and getting coaching, the amount of people that have said that, have changed their lives. And even if it was just one person, that's enough. So I believe that when we kind of stop focusing so much on judging ourselves and wondering, are other people going to judge us, we can actually focus on what the outcome is going to be. I believe that everybody has a specific purpose and a specific message and reason for being here, and a specific way of delivering that message, because really there's nothing new as such. I mean, we're all pretty much saying the same universal key messages in the universe, to help each other. And that's what I found when I read all these books, and including my book. We all were saying pretty much there's like this master messages. There's like these secret messages from the universe that are telling us how to lead happier lives. But we all have an individual way of expressing that message. And the way I express it will be different from the way Marina expresses it, the way you, the listener, expresses it. And that is necessary. It is necessary, because there's something, for example, that I call the rule of 49. Something we have to hear. Sometimes we have to hear something 50 times before it sinks in. So you may have been, listening to other coaches. You may have heard other motivational speakers, but maybe you haven't hit on the right speaker yet. That's going to make you go, I get it now. And that light bulb moment comes. And maybe, listening to this talk, or maybe coming along to the Radio Works event, or, listening to Marina speak, is the final time, is the 50th time that you need, and the way that it's expressed, or maybe it's just the right time for you. And that's when you will get the message, and it really will sink in. So,
talking about messages, we have to say thank you to Connor. He's saying that he's saying very nice things, and I want you to read this one, if you could.
Connor Egan is a wonderful guy, as he says, and he said, the staircase of life can be climbed a lot easier one step at a time, but you have to take the first step. So true, Connor. He's a wise man. I agree with you, Connor, completely. He's a great guy. Thank you, Connor.
Thank you so much. So I was most of the time when I was wondering what is my life purpose, what is my mission in life, I realized that I was making a massive confusion between finding first my purpose before finding my mission. But once I realized that my mission in life is to find my purpose and deliver my purpose, everything got to be so easy.
Yes.
And my passion is to broadcast your passion, as you know. And yes. I can't help it. I have to tell everyone about you. And I am working now on creating a different kind of platform, more engaging, where people could meet you, people could get in touch with you, because you are beyond wonderful. And that's my passion, to tell the world that we have this amazing gift of life called Danielle Serpico. And of course, perhaps I have to put some ribbon around and present you to the world as a gift, because you are a gift. So you could offer your gift to the world, knowing that the more you give, the more you are. Mm-hmm. It is that place of abundance that you discover once you master your gift. It's that place of abundance which is making you limitless. And it's not only that you become limitless, but you feel limitless. Yeah. So look at us, it's Friday evening. And
we should be partying, us young ones.
Perhaps there are other things to do on a Friday evening, but we cannot help it.
Yeah.
And that's my point. My point is that I'm not tired. I wake up very early. I'm an early bird. But I could listen to you for hours and hours on end. So I feel that once you discover what is your purpose, once you discover your mission being to learn your purpose, you start living on purpose. Yeah. And this is one of the most amazing experiences a human could lead. It's almost like nothing else matters. You stop worrying about what other people might think of you. Anyway, they don't think anything of you. They don't care, and they don't have time to think of you. They're busy being harsh on themselves.
Yes, very true.
So it's almost like you discover that it's none of your business what other people think of you, because they don't anyway. Your only business is what you think of yourself and how you think yourself. And I know it doesn't make much sense to most people when I'm saying what you think of yourself and how you think, the process thought about yourself, because that's the most important lesson you could ever learn. The story you tell yourself about yourself when nobody's listening. The story that you share with yourself at the end of the day, during the day, in the midst of everything, when nobody is there. And you are born alone, you die alone, and you have to learn to stand up alone in front of your own judgment. And I know it's perhaps time for a refresh button. We always live in a trance, so you actually choose the trance you are in. So you could be in a trance of excitement, as I am, or in a trance of sadness, or in a trance of joy. And perhaps you could tell us more about learning to dehypnotize yourself from a trance of struggles into a trance of joy.
Okay, well, you are right about that. We are always in a trance, you know, and one of my great teachers, Justin Trans, actually a hypnotist, taught me a lot about how our minds work in a trance, and we are always in a state of some sort, some more than others. But we are always in a state, and we literally transverse from state to state, you know, like you said, from happiness to curiosity to excitement or whatever, but we're always in a trance. And that's basically based on our habits and our rituals and our old experiences, because our mind, which is made up of primarily our unconscious mind, rules, and that will cause you to act and behave and think and react in a certain way based on everything that has happened previously in your life. Okay, so something that I talk about a lot is the map not being the territory. So we rule our life based on our map of what we believe is reality, but that's not necessarily the reality. It's simply a map that we've made and created, a map of our mind based on everything that's happened in our life and our experiences, and that's what we believe is true. So we tend to go on autopilot. We tend to believe that if every handle on a door, if one handle on a door opens downwards, then all handles on a door open downwards. And we go to open a door and the handle doesn't work, we don't even think sometimes for a long, long while to try and lift the handle upwards to see if it works that way, because we've been so conditioned and so used to it only working downwards. So that's a simple example. So the exact same with anything in our lives. We tend to follow patterns. That's how our mind works. Our brain works in patterns. It works in rituals and patterns and habits based on what's happened before. So when we meet somebody and they smile, and maybe we've met somebody before that was a bit two-faced and they smile at us, then we believe that everybody that gives us that same smile is going to be two-faced also. But that's not necessarily the reality. We're simply living from our old map, and you could say our old trance of life. Okay, so being aware all the time, and you know, I talk in the Blackbelt Mastermind book, you know, masterful attitude, and the first stage is masterful awareness. It's about how being aware is probably 99% of the journey, is becoming aware that just because you believe something, or just because you've jumped to a conclusion and think something, that is not necessarily the reality, and leaving your mind open more so to new possibilities. So if you want to come out of a trance and experience more in life, I would do the 3 things that I said at the start. I would do something out of your comfort zone every day. You know, increase your surroundings, increase your learnings, increase your experiences. Do something for others, and do something new every day from something that you've learned. But I would also question my mind. I would question your thoughts. I would ask better questions, because that will lead you to a new direction. So if, for example,
coming to better questions, for example,
yeah,
a good question would be how I'm going to make enough money to pay the rent next month,
yeah.
or what is the right question to ask?
Well, instead of saying, for example, you might have somebody that is focusing. Sometimes we say something, but we're really actually internally focusing in a different direction. So somebody might be saying, oh God, how can I make enough money to pay the rent? And their thought is simply on the fact that they don't have enough money to pay the rent. So their thought is really focused on they don't have enough money. They're not actually congruent. They're not actually acting, they're feeling. The direction of their thought is not actually congruent to the words that they're using. So a better way of saying it, if it's a genuine question and they really mean it, it's okay. Maybe saying something a little bit more specific, like, what one tiny step can I take right now to improve my financial situation? It has a slightly different connotation, and it tends to lead you in a slightly different direction. It feels different. So if you're stuck at home and you feel that you haven't got the money to pay the rent, if you're saying, oh, what am I going to do? I don't have the money to pay the rent, or how can I pay the rent? It's not as powerful. It's more disempowering than saying, what one tiny step can I take right now to improve my financial situation, or to change to change things ever so slightly? What one thing can I do? Because again, taking it little step by step, and it's less overwhelming. So again, the power of your words and the power of your questions, using them more productively, will lead you to a better feeling. And of course, we all know, as Gandhi said himself, your beliefs will dictate your thoughts, and your thoughts will dictate your emotions, and your emotions will dictate your results, and your results will dictate your life. So if you want to feel better and have a better result in life, ask better questions, because they will lead you down a new path. So if you want to take yourself out of a trance, as Marina said, ask better questions. Ask questions, question everything. And try out, experiment. As we said, change it. As I said, you want new results, it requires new thinking. If you've been hitting your head off a brick wall for the last, week, month, year, 10 years, 20 years, and your financial, your personal situation isn't working, really start a new approach. So if you have found that your habit is, what can I do right now to change my life? Or, I don't know, why am I in this situation? Or why is things so bad? If you ask why, that's a dreadful question. That's going to lead you down a negative path, because your mind is simply like Google, will go and look for the results. So if you say, why is my life this way? Your brain doesn't discern that. It doesn't say, oh, that's not a good question, Danielle. It will simply say, okay, you want the answer to that, let me go find them. So we'll come back to you with a pile of reasons. Well, Danielle, your life is this way because your father left you. Your life is this way because this happened. Life is this way because your parents got divorced. Your life is this way because you're half Italian and crazy. Okay? So it will give you answers. So if you want to ask, get different results, ask better questions. So instead say, what can I do right now to change my life and make it one little bit better? What one thing can I do? What little thing can I do right now? What action can I take? What one step can I make right now to improve my life? Because if you will even improve it by 1 degree, that's all it takes for your life to steer in a completely different direction.
If I may, actually, I have the answer.
Great.
Yes. So you could meet the amazing, the one and only Danielle Serpico on the red carpet in London on 6th of September, which is just in a couple of weeks from now. And join us and ask the question, learn the question you could ask, learn how to control the power of words, learn how to work inside towards bringing that inner greatness you hold outside into the world and gift it to the world, and become limitless, become abundant.
Yes.
And learn to share your stardust we are approaching the end. I know 90 minutes sounded a lot of time, but it's gone. It's what you make of it. Thank you so much, Danielle. Remember, the Blackbelt Mastermind is out there. Come and join us. I have a surprise. I'm not going to disclose even to you, Danielle. I'm sorry. I have to have my secrets. And I can't wait to see you on the 6th of September, because I have a big surprise for Danielle and for everybody who is going to walk the talk on the red carpet on the 6th September in London at the Stardust Hub. From both of us, until next time, goodbye.
Brilliant. Bye-bye.
Share your Stardust. Never stop. Never leave home without it.